Hillary Clinton's campaign has said that they will not be debating Bernie Sanders in New York if he doesn't change his tone.
About $4 million running negative ads.
That doesn't have anything to do with the debate, though. Why not
Let's see
debate?
the tone. This is a man who said he'd never run a negative ad, ever. He's now running them. They're now planning to run more. Let's see the tone of the campaign he wants to run before we get to any other questions.
You guys, back in January, when there was this whole back and forth about debates, the Clinton campaign was open to more debates after that Flint debate was agreed to. Why not debate in New York?
Because we agreed to debates up to a certain point. We're now out campaigning in these states.
What's the risk?
There's no risk. She's done very well in the debates. The debates have been very good, but Senator Sanders doesn't get to decide when we debate.
He just said Hillary Clinton has done really good on the debates. Let's watch TYT's best lines from the last debate.
No, I do not support vigilantes, and that is a horrific statement, an unfair statement to make. I will stand terms of my political career, fighting for workers, fighting for the poorest people in this country. Madam Secretary, I will match my record against yours any day of the week.
Why is this important? Do you have reason to believe that she says one thing in private and another in public?
Well, what I have said is that when you get, I believe it is $225,000 for giving a speech, and she gave several speeches to Goldman Sachs, one of the Wall Street financial institutions whose greed and illegal behavior helped destroy our economy a number of years ago. When you get paid $225,000, that means that that speech must have been an extraordinarily wonderful speech.
So does this mean that you would not think she would have to disclose?
I would think that a speech so great that you got paid so much money for, you would like to share it with the American people. So I think she should.
The government has to quit making money off of lending money to young people to get their education.
Karen, let's go back to you.
I think that what Secretary Clinton just said is absolutely right. I think I said it many months before she said it, but thanks for copying a very good idea. Clearly, the Secretary's words to Wall Street has really intimidated them, and that is why they have given her $15 million in campaign contributions. There is nobody in the United States Congress who has taken on the Koch brothers, who want to destroy Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and virtually every federal program passed since the 1930s, more than Bernie Sanders. And I am proud that the gentleman who is head of Goldman Sachs, now he didn't give me $225,000 for speaking fees. He said I was dangerous, and he is right. I am dangerous for Wall Street. Let's be clear. You're looking at the senator who introduced the most comprehensive climate change legislation in the history of the United States Senate. Now, I hope that Secretary Clinton would join me, if we are serious about climate change, about imposing a tax on carbon on the fossil fuel industry and making massive investments in energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And by the way, while we are on the subject of energy, I hope you'll join me in ending fracking in the United States of America. What Secretary Clinton is saying is that the United States should continue to be the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all of our people. I think if the rest of the world could do it, we can. And by the way, not only are we being ripped off by the drug companies, we are spending far, far more per capita on health care than any other major country on earth. You may not think the American people are prepared to stand up to the insurance companies or the drug companies. I think they are.
Senator Sanders doesn't get to decide when we debate, particularly when he's running a very negative campaign against us. Let's see if he goes back to the kind of tone he's going to set early on. If he does that, then we'll talk about debates. But we're not going to talk about it.
So no chance of a New York debate?
I didn't say that. I said we're not going to talk about it. We're going to see what kind of tone he sets. If his campaign wants to run the kind of negative campaign and run negative ads like they did in North Carolina, in Illinois, all over the country on March 15th, that's going to be disappointing to a lot of Democrats who feel we have to start focusing on Republicans, whether it's Donald Trump or Ted Cruz, and about our differences so we win in November.
Well, you just heard it. Her campaign wants them to focus on attacking Republicans instead of attacking each other. Because, as you saw, the last debate wasn't that good for her. And they are under this illusion that they had already won that nomination and they are going to be dealing with Republicans in November. But we don't know that. The nomination hasn't been set and Bernie Sanders can still win it, and it's not decided until June. Let's also talk about how he said that Bernie Sanders has been putting attack ads and running a negative campaign before March 15th, before the Super Tuesday they call it. But that's a lie. You can watch it on all of his ads that I'm going to play after this. It's just a poor excuse for not debating.
North Carolina's furniture and textile industries, decimated by decades of disastrous trade deals. Over 361,000 manufacturing jobs lost. Only one candidate for president has opposed every disastrous deal, Bernie Sanders. While his opponent has flip-flopped on trade deals, Bernie has fought them and stood with American workers. He'll take on Wall Street and their trade deals because he doesn't take their money. For jobs, for us, Bernie.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
The NAFTA trade treaty, 850,000 jobs lost. Special trade status with China, 3 million jobs lost. Now the Trans-Pacific trade deal could cost America 448,000 more jobs. Only one candidate for president has opposed every disastrous deal, Bernie Sanders. While others supported unfair trade deals, Bernie stood with American workers. He'll take on Wall Street and their trade deals because he doesn't take their money. For jobs, for us, Bernie.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
People in this community badly want and need a fair shot. For too long, politicians haven't quite stood up for them. Bernie Sanders is about giving everyone an opportunity to do better. This is the year for transformative change. If you are beholden to big money, you will not be a transformative leader. I'm Commissioner Chuy Garcia. I'm supporting Bernie Sanders.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
In Chicago, we have endured a corrupt political system, and the chief politician standing in the way of us getting good schools is our mayor. If you have a presidential candidate that supports someone like our mayor, you have a candidate who's not willing to take on the establishment. Bernie Sanders is definitely not afraid to take on the system, that he looks beyond that system and sees better possibilities for us. He sees that this is not the way it has to be. That is why I support Bernie Sanders.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
When my oldest brother Michael was born, my mother was told that she had to leave because she could not bring a black child into that neighborhood. So she left, and she tried to make a way for herself and her child on the south side. We lived in extreme poverty. I remember being sent downstairs to put snow in the bucket and then taking that water and pouring it into the back of a toilet so that we could flush it because we didn't have running water that month. I remember that existence. I didn't go to college straight from high school because I didn't think I would succeed. After my first semester, I had straight A's. Second semester, straight A's. Well, I looked at this report card and I thought, what gave me such a low assessment of myself that I thought I wouldn't succeed here? And I decided then and there that I was going to be a teacher so that any kid who came through my classroom would not walk away from my classroom not understanding his or her potential the way I did. I saw that photograph of Bernie Sanders chained to a black woman protesting segregation in the 1960s. That photograph tells me more about his willingness to fight for the rights of all people than anything any politician has ever said. Being able to have a college education transformed my view of what I could be in this world. It shouldn't just be a small group of people who get access to that kind of experience. Every American, regardless of their income, should have access to a college education. These things are possible. The impossible is possible. And that's one of the reasons that I love Bernie Sanders. He sees an America that's beyond the current limitations that we have. He sees an America that I see where there's hope, where things you thought could never be done can be done. That is why I support Bernie Sanders.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
The fight against injustice and inequality has been the work of his life. Bernie Sanders. As a student, he was arrested for protesting segregation and led sit-ins against the racist housing policy of his university. He was there when Dr. King marched on Washington in the fight for jobs and justice. Now he's taken on a broken criminal justice system to stop racial profiling, prevent police misconduct, and end mass incarceration. Bernie Sanders. From his youth to today, he stood with us. Now it's time to stand with him.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.